Tim O'Toole and the Wee Folk. An Irish Tale told and illustrated by Gerald McDermott. In a little cottage on a little hill, at the end of a little lane in Donegal, lived Tim O'Toole and his wife Kathleen. Tim and Kate were so poor they had not a penny or a potato between them. Their children ate porridge for supper. Even the mice were thin from want of food, and the cat wouldn't bother with chasing the creatures. Their neighbors, who were poor enough themselves, avoided Tim, for they thought he would bring them bad luck. Things went from bad to worse until one day there was not a crumb or a drop left in the house. "Tim O'Toole," said Kate, "I can stand no more of being poor, and you sitting around bemoaning your fate. You must go out and find work like a decent man and take us out of this poverty." Kathleen kept after him, and the next morning Tim set out to see if he could earn some wages. Tim O'Toole traveled the length of the county, knocking at every door, inquiring at every farm, trying to eke out a few coppers for a day's work, but there was no work to be had. Finally, when Tim was tired and hungry and could walk no farther, he stopped and lay down to rest in the cool green clover at the side of the road. No sooner had he stretched out than he heard the faint sound of merry piping and littling voices raised in song and laughter. The strange music was coming from a little hollow in the side of the hill. Tim crept up to the hollow and peered over the edge. There below him was a troop of the wee folk, laughing and singing and carrying on. Well, Tim knew for sure his luck had changed, for it is well known that whoever spies the wee folk in the light of day can demand their treasure. Suddenly the music stopped. The little merrymakers were astonished when they looked up and saw Tim peering down at them. "Hand over your gold," bellowed Tim, trying to be fierce, "and you'll come to no harm." "Have mercy on us, Tim O'Toole," begged the leader of the little people. There was a smile on his lips, and he tried not to laugh. "You've caught us for fair, so we'll see that you're richly rewarded." Then there was hurrying and scurrying in the hollow below, and soon the wee folk handed up a little gray goose. "Here you are, Tim, a goose that lays golden eggs. Go home straight away, tell not a soul, and you and your Kate shall never want more." Tim started for home, carrying the goose and feeling very pleased with himself. Soon darkness overcame him, and he stopped at a farmhouse to ask if he could stay the night. The couple who owned the farm, the Magoons, let him in and sat him down by the fire. Tim began to boast of his great good fortune and the little gray goose that lays golden eggs. That night, while Tim was asleep in the loft, the Magoons decided they could use just such a goose as this. Quietly they exchanged it for their own. Tim was none the wiser for it, and in the morning went happily homeward, carrying the goose he thought would bring him great wealth. When he got home, he put the bird upon the table. "Is this all you've to show for being gone these 3 days?" asked Kathleen. "But darling, this is no ordinary goose," said Tim. "This one lays golden eggs." Well, the short of it is, they waited a long, long time, and as you might guess, the goose did no such thing. "They've cheated me!" howled Tim, and he marched off in a terrible temper to give the little people what for. When he finally reached their hiding place, he was still angry. "Golden eggs, is it?" cried Tim to the wee folk. "That goose you gave me laid no eggs at all." "This is curious indeed," said their startled leader. Then the little man wrinkled his nose and gave a sly smile. "Tim, wait but a moment, and we'll make good your reward." There was hurrying and scurrying in the hollow below. A moment later the wee folk brought forth a fine linen tablecloth and spread it in front of Tim. In the wink of an eye it was covered with bounteous food and drink the likes of which he had never seen before. "Take this tablecloth home straight away, Tim O'Toole, and tell not a soul," cautioned the leader of the little ones. "Then you and your darling Kate shall never want for more." Tim walked merrily toward home until darkness came on him. Again he stayed the night with the Magoons, and boasted to them of his new-found fortune. The Magoons thought it good fortune indeed. While Tim slept, they slipped away the magic tablecloth and exchanged it for an ordinary one from their very own cupboard. Tim was none the wiser for it when he reached home the next day. "Kathleen, my darling," he said, "we'll never go hungry again." With a flourish he spread the cloth upon the table. Well, of course, it was empty and produced not a drop or a crumb. Kathleen laughed. Tim went into a rage. "The little heathens!" he shouted. In a flash Tim was out the door and on the road again. "Stand fast!" Tim called down into the little hollow where the wee folk were gathered. "'Tis pleased you are not, Tim O'Toole," said the leader. Could it be that the tablecloth was empty? All the wee folk were grinning. "Indeed it was, you scoundrel," answered Tim. The wee ones began to chuckle. "And did you go direct home as we told you?" Tim O'Toole admitted he had twice stayed the night with the Magoons. When they heard this, the little people burst into laughter. "You are a fool to trust the likes of the Magoons," said the leader. "But never mind, Tim, we've just the thing for you." The little people brought up a strange green hat and gave it to Tim. They instructed him to boast of its magic to the Magoons, and to leave the hat where they could find it. "Then we shall see what they shall see," said the wee one. A third time Tim tarried at the Magoons. He proudly displayed the magic hat the wee folk had given him. Then he crawled up into the loft and pretended to sleep. He had but laid his head upon the straw when he heard the Magoons stir below. "I wonder what sort of magic it is," said Magoon to his wife. Cautiously he tipped over the hat. Out of the hat jumped 10 tiny men. Each had a little blackthorn club and began to beat the Magoons about the shins and ankles. The couple whooped and hollered and danced around the room, trying to escape the blows of the wee folk. "Lay off! Lay off!" begged Magoon. "Tell your henchmen to have mercy, O'Toole." "Give me my linen tablecloth and my little gray goose, and I'll leave you in peace," said Tim, laughing all the while. The Magoons gave back what they had taken. Tim put on his hat, tucked the gray goose under one arm, draped the tablecloth over the other arm, and headed for home. When Tim arrived, he spread the tablecloth before Kathleen and set down the goose in the middle of it. The bird honked and laid a golden egg. Then the most delectable edibles and drinkables began magically to appear on the table. "Kathleen, my darling," said Tim, "we are happy at last." Or so Tim thought. Folks from all parts soon heard of the O'Toole's good fortune and crowded in to see the wondrous goose. Their little cottage filled up with neighbors until there was no place left to sit or to stand. Everyone helped themselves to the never-ending supply of eatables and drinkables. "I never knew we had so many friends," said Tim, "but I think 'tis time the party was at an end." Tim tipped his hat, and out jumped the 10 tiny men with blackthorn clubs. They beat the shins and ankles of the noisy crowd, chased them out of the house, and pursued them down the hill. After that, the cottage was quiet once again. Tim O'Toole and his family were quite comfortable, you might say. They spent many hours in front of the hearth, sipping hot tea and chatting and thinking kind thoughts of the wee folk. For all I know, Tim and Kate are there still, in a little cottage on a little hill, at the end of a little lane in Donegal.